The Dallas Cowboys did, well, Dallas Cowboys things in week 6. We'll tell you why Dak and the boys aren't true NFC contenders next.
The clock may have hit 0, but the conversation is just kicking off. This is Locked On NFL Game Night. From the early window thrillers to the 4 o'clock fireworks, and of course the Thursday night spotlight, we've got you covered with all the jaw-dropping touchdowns, head-scratching calls, and the hot takes you'll be talking about tomorrow. You'll find it all here every week. The game may be over, but the conversation is just getting started. This is Locked On NFL Game Night.
Welcome to Locked On NFL Game Night. We are your hosts and NFL Game Night experts, Michael Fabiano and Swipa. You can call us Fabs and Swipa. Thank you for listening to Locked On NFL Game Night. Remember that you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. We're recapping all the action from today's NFL slate with insights from local experts the way only Locked On can. On today's show, we'll hit on a big win for the Panthers in Carolina. Then we'll talk about the Patriots making the Saints yell Mayday. And we'll finish up with the Jaguars, who took a step back after a big win last week. We've got all that for you and more. And of course, we appreciate you making us your first listen and being an everyday listener on the show, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda, Move, and Be Moved. All right, Swipa. So we have almost concluded week 6. We still have a few more games left, including 2 on Monday night. But we start off in Carolina, where the Panthers had maybe the biggest win of the Dave Canales era, taking out Dak Prescott and my beloved, but not so good Dallas Cowboys, 30-27. Let's go to Landon McCool with Locked On Cowboys for a breakdown.
Game-winning field goal with as time expired in what appears to be a true referendum on the Matt Eberflus era as defensive coordinator, as the Cowboys were unable to stop Rico Dowdle on the ground, unable to stop the Panthers passing game at key moments on third downs, and basically just unable to stop the Panthers at all, as Dak Prescott has another solid to very, very good game, MVP level game, despite missing offensive linemen on the injury report, despite still missing CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys offense was able to put up points, but the defense was so bad it sunk the entire game. And like I said, and potentially the Cowboys' chances of making the playoffs this year. For more on this, make sure you check us out on the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And for more on your team, check out the podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, look, so if you just took play and you said that we're not worried about record, I would make an argument that Dak Prescott has been the most impressive quarterback in the NFL this year. He had 261 passing yards, 90.3 QBR, a 124.8 passer rating, and he was dotting the Carolina Panthers defense. Without CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, 9 receptions, 168 yards, and a touchdown. He is making everything come together for this team. Javonte Williams had 29 yards today, his worst running game of the season so far, and it still wasn't enough. They have one of the best offenses in the sport, but again, it's their defense that continues to let them down. 30 carries for Rico Dowdle, 183 yards, and this was a career day, and he did it on 6.1 yards per carry, and he added another 4 receptions for 56 yards. They got dominated. Bryce Young looked comfortable for most of the game today, 199 yards. This is inexcusable for a team that really has given so much of its attention to that side of the ball on defense. They have to be better. Jerry Jones said that, hey, we get rid of Micah Parsons, we'll be fine. Well, they come out every single game and they get the doors blown off, despite the fact that Dak Prescott is having an MVP caliber year this year.
Yeah, they have no defense, and that's not going to change all season long. It's a great combination from a fantasy football perspective because the offense is going to score a lot of points, the defense is going to give up a lot of points. But in terms of real football, I mean, the Cowboys are pretenders. You know, they've started 2-1, and then you go into Carolina and get beat by a team that maybe you should beat, but maybe they're on that level. The Cowboys, clearly a team that's, if they go 8-9 this year, I think that's probably a win. And actually, they can't do that because they've already tied. So 8-1, big win for the Cowboys. But Carolina, big win for Dave Canales there and Bryce Young, who had a very good game. But let's move on to South Florida, my neck of the woods, where the Dolphins, they mounted a big comeback and they took the lead over the Lightning Bolts in the fourth quarter, but the Chargers hung on. 33-yard field goal from Cameron Dicker the kicker. I mean, that guy's named perfect for what he does for a profession. For more on this game, let's check in with Daniel Wade in Locked On Chargers.
Against the Dolphins. It was a thrilling game on Sunday in Miami, with the Chargers starting to spiral in the second half, blowing a 13-point fourth quarter lead. But when all the cards were down, Justin Herbert was able to somehow avoid a sack, find Ladd McConkey, who took it deep into Dolphins territory, well into Cameron Dicker's field goal range, and they were able to pull off the win late. A lot to clean up for this team still, but I did like to see the emergence of second-year running back Kamani Vidal, who ripped off 128 yards on the ground in this game, and the Chargers limiting the penalties somewhat from the big numbers we've seen the last couple of weeks. At this point, a win is a win, an ugly win is a win, and it's hold on until you can get some reinforcements. But for the full game breakdown, make sure to check out the Locked On Chargers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Look, it's this simple. Justin Herbert went Superman down the stretch of that game. If you didn't get a chance to feast your eyes on this incredible late game surge from the Miami Dolphins, they were down a good bit. They were able to make multiple drives with Tua to get them in position to be able to get back in this game. Tua leads them on a drive in which they score with really about 46 seconds left, finds Darren Waller for the touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown, and it looked like it might be a 26-27 victory for the Miami Dolphins off the back of a great resurgence from Tua Tagovailoa, but they weren't able to do it. The defense lets them down. Justin Herbert gets sacked, we thought, twice in a row, broke out of the first one, was able to get rid of the ball. The second one, they had two people hanging on him, was able to break out of the sack, found Ladd McConkey across the middle on an over route, and Ladd scampers all the way down the field to put them in great field position to get the game-winning field goal. This is despite the fact that Devon Achane had 16 carries for 128 yards in this game. Jalen Waddle had 6 for 95 today. I mean, it was just a great game for the Dolphins, but man, when you want to beat the Chargers, and specifically when you want to beat Justin Herbert, you have to be able to bring him to the ground. And the Dolphins were unable to do that, and now they go home with yet another loss.
Yeah, and the hot seat just got hotter for Mike McDaniel, who is probably not long for that job in South Florida. Swipa. The Rams and the Ravens faced off in Baltimore, moving on, and the home team was once again without Lamar Jackson, and it showed. I mean, the offense struggled again. 3 points. It was terrible. And the Rams take home another win. For more on this game, let's go to Kevin Ostreicher with Locked On Ravens.
On Ravens, 17-3, the final score. The Rams beat the Ravens. The Ravens fall to 1-5 entering their bye week, which is an abysmal place to be. And for the first time, it really felt to me like the Ravens gave up in this one. They had an opportunity to go up 10-3 right before the half. The Ravens have terrible play calling from the 1-yard line. 2 Mark Andrews sneaks and then a Derrick Henry run that everybody saw coming. And then the Rams come out firing in that third quarter, and they never looked back from there, and felt like even with it being a 2-score game in the fourth quarter, the Ravens didn't have a sense of urgency and felt like they kind of threw the towel in on this one. The Ravens have so much soul searching to do. There could be big changes coming this week, and honestly, there should be, as this team looks for any answers. They should be getting a little healthy after their bye week, but they're going to have to go on a heck of a run to salvage this season. For more on the Ravens and their Week 6 loss to the Rams, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Look, it's this simple. The Ravens' red zone offense is despicable given the amount of talent they have on the roster. And this is including with Lamar and especially without. They get on the goal line today, and everybody knows the person who needs the ball here is Derrick Henry, but they block so poorly that he gets stonewalled on fourth down. The reason why they run the Mark Andrews sneak, because they just don't believe they can get the push for a half a yard, 2 yards to get what they need. And then on top of that, Cooper Rush is one of the worst backup quarterbacks in the sport. It was so bad that Tyler Huntley had to come into the game, and again, to his credit, try to save the game. He outperformed Cooper Rush. He was able to get at least 39 yards on the ground today to try to make up the difference. But all in all, they just don't have enough. And again, I think this is on Harbaugh. I think this is on the GM. You knew that in order to have a competent backup, you had to scour the market to find somebody that could do the job in case you lost Lamar. And what this says to me, Fabs, is that Lamar Jackson has been holding a lot of holes in this ship together. This is a team that is decimated by injuries, true, but that defense came into the year. You thought you were going to get something more. They held them to 17 points today, and it still wasn't enough.
That's why the dude wins MVPs, man, because he goes away and so does the Ravens offense. And, Cooper Rush was not actually a terrible backup quarterback with the Cowboys, but his first couple of starts with the Ravens, as you said, have been absolutely dreadful. And it's really hurt the Ravens offense. And they are 1-5. It is insane. They were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. Coming up next, we'll talk about an AFC team that's quickly turning itself into a contender once again. That's coming up on Locked On NFL Game Night. You know the saying, look good, feel good? The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but they feel stiff. They're hot. They're high maintenance. That's where Mizzen & Main comes in. Mizzen & Main makes the classic menswear with performance fabric, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, they're moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and machine washable, like no ironing, no dry cleaning. I love that. I mean, you could go from the office to dinner, go to the golf course. No matter what you do, you feel comfortable all day. It's that feel of athletic wear, but the look of professional menswear. No matter what you're doing, you're going to feel great with Mizzen & Main. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen & Main stores in select states. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It's about refining the game. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game, it's got to be Rico Dowdle, who went wild on his former team, the Dallas Cowboys. 183 rushing yards, 56 yards as a receiver, and he scored a touchdown. So yeah, Carolina Panthers fans and fantasy footballers alike were thrilled and loving themselves some Rico Suave in week 6. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Swiper, we're back here, and we're going to talk about the Patriots, who went down to the Bayou, and they beat up on the Saints 25-19. Drake Maye, who, by the way, I loved coming into the season in real and fantasy football terms. I mean, dude, he's that guy, man. 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. And for more on not only Drake Maye, but the Patriots, here's Nick Castles.
That's all you have to say. Almost flawless in the first half, and he continues to absolutely dice defenses on third down, including the game-sealing play down in New Orleans on this Sunday. 3rd and 11, back shoulder throw to Kayshon Boutte. Perfect execution. First down, game over. Join me, Nick Cattles, to talk about the 3rd straight win for the Patriots, a professional win down in New Orleans on Locked On Patriots.
Look, it's this simple. Drake Maye has been the best second-year quarterback in the NFL this season. Last year, it was Jaden Daniels. Bo Nix had his own run last year. But if you watched the Patriots, Drake Maye looked like he had the it factor to him. And honestly, back-to-back weeks where he's made throws that are just like superstar level throws. Now, I'm not just talking about the dots that he had to Demario Douglas, but I'm also talking about he knows where his receiving options are. Fab, there was a play where he was getting the pocket condensed on him. He was looking and evaluating everybody on the field, and then he had enough awareness to know exactly where his hot route was. He flicked the ball with his right hand over the tackle and rusher and was able to get yards on a play that a lot of quarterbacks would have taken a sack or thrown in the dirt. 92.6 QBR, 140 passer rating today for Drake Maye. So just a spectacular game. Kayshon, just another great game receiving. Demario Douglas, another great game receiving. he's the truth, man. I think there's a real argument that this dude is going to be a Pro Bowler by the end of the year.
Listen, I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, you got to be excited. You know, it's not like he's doing this with Randy Moss and Wes Welker, right? This is Kayshon Boutte and Demario McDouglas. And Stephon Diggs, who we all thought would have a big game, didn't even have a big game this week. It was all about Drake Maye finding the open man, and he looks like that guy. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You mentioned Bo Nix. He played in London, and this game was awful. Like I was up early. I went to church, and then I came home, watched the end of the game, and the Jets had like no offensive yards. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? They end up losing 13-11. The Jets had negative 10 passing yards. So Swiper, you and I combined had more passing yards combined than the Jets. I mean, that's terrible. Like negative 10 yards. Their offensive line gave up 9 sacks. It was kind of disgusting. For more on this, let's go to Locked On Jets.
When you're the worst team in the NFL, you find a new way to lose every week. The Jets defense, which has been an issue all season long, came to play. They allowed only 13 points. They forced their first turnover of the season on the first Denver drive, and they allowed only a field goal in the second half, but it wasn't enough because of a dismal offensive performance by the Jets. Jets end this game with negative passing yards, a terrible performance by Justin Fields, wasting a stellar defensive performance. The job of the coaching staff has to be questioned in this one as well. Aaron Glenn, what was he doing before halftime? The Jets allowed the clock to run out instead of going after points. It proved to be costly. There's a reason the team's 0-6. It's because they always find a way to lose, and that's true of this Jets team. For more on the Jets, tune into the Locked On Jets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's this simple. The Broncos came into this game with all the momentum after the Eagles win, and they honestly were playing well in the first half offensively. But, you know, Ben Powers is out at the left guard position. They had Matt Pert starting. He was not good at all. I mean, he was multiple penalties, and I'm talking about points off the board penalties. And then the Jets, they responded. They played really good defense for the most part. But look, Justin Fields, this was a man that was just, I think, a little bit overwhelmed with what he was seeing on the other end. You know, the Broncos have the best, and I would say at least the most aggressive defense in the NFL. They're sacking the quarterback at an all-time rate. They're on pace for 85 sacks this year, so they're just going crazy. But look, there are opportunities for him, but I think he was so overwhelmed with what was happening that he was not even able to distribute the ball. There were multiple things that the Jets could have done to win this game. Aaron Glenn, the coaching decisions, whether it be how to use the timeouts, when to utilize the timeout, and I'm talking about before the half or even in the fourth quarter when they had a chance to go down and get a field goal. So they didn't go for it on 4th and 8. They don't get it. Justin Fields gets sacked for the 9th time, and it was the ugliest game that I've seen all year. Horrific offensive performances and 2 great performances by 2 good defenses.
Yeah, it was gross for the fans in London who deserved a refund. It was gross if you started anyone on your fantasy team in this game. It was just gross. Luckily, the football season will continue on, and maybe the Jets will improve. But no wins so far after 6 weeks, so not a great start with Aaron Glenn at the helm. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. We'll go from a team that really stinks to a team that's looking like a contender, right? I mean, 31-27. They win in a battle against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals started a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. And I gotta say something, Swiper. Their offense looked better without Kyler Murray. I mean, listen, I love Kyler, but that's the truth. And Marvin Harrison Jr. went down with a concussion earlier in the game, so they didn't even have their number 1 wide receiver in this one. Trey McBride finally has that huge game. But the Colts are now 5-1. And for more on Indianapolis, let's go to Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts.
Nail biter here at Lucas Oil Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals, 31-27 to move to 5-1 on the season. It was a weird one from the jump today. You know, Anthony Richardson and Charvarius Ward both injured during pregame warmups, out for the game. Shane Steichen said he kind of had to rally the troops and get everyone refocused heading into the game because they had a job to do. Daniel Jones, you know, kind of led a few nice touchdown drives there. Tyler Warren and Josh Downs were instrumental in this one on offense as to, you know, getting open, creating yards after catch. They both scored touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor with yet another 100-yard game, of course, kind of taking over a little bit in the second half. The defense did not have its best day. I think they were really throwing a curveball, especially with the Charvarius Ward injury. Yeah, Jonathan Edwards out there, a rookie undrafted free agent who really struggled. Mekhi Blackman and Chris Lamont's out there as well. They made some plays when they needed to. You know, they made a stop at the very end, standing tall on 4th down there at the low red zone, you know, forcing an incompletion in the end zone to wrap this one up. But again, your Colts are 5-1. They've pretty much won every which way that you can so far this season. So it's a battle-tested team, and it's only going to get more interesting from here. Check us out on the Locked On Colts Squad Show coming up here soon. Check us out, you know, every day, Monday through Friday, throughout the week on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Look, win. That's all that matters. You played versus a backup quarterback, and that game could have gone left real quick because the Cardinals had a chance to win the game with under a minute left. They were driving in the red zone on the goal line with a chance to win. But the defense, they held up. They didn't give up any points. And this is the story for the Broncos, the story for the Chargers, and the story for the Colts. All you got to do is win. Pretty, ugly, it doesn't matter. They continue to move on. They're 5-1, looking like they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC all year.
And the quarterback is Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Listen, man, the Colts have found something. Obviously, they regret the selection of Anthony Richardson, who injured himself in pregame. The Colts, they're a contender right now in the AFC. There's no question about that. And Jonathan Taylor, he's looking good, Swipa. I mean, he is running hard, and he continues to be the centerpiece of that offense. So coming up next, we're going to talk about the Jaguars and how they went from the highest of highs to losing to the Seahawks at home. That's coming up next on Locked On NFL Game Night. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Do you need parts fast for a project? I mean, I know I'm always doing work around my house, and Supply House has next-day delivery. That is an absolute game changer. I also love the Parts Finder tool and the 3D schematics. Those alone can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. You also have to appreciate Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support. It makes the whole process a whole heck of a lot smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Of course, that's very important. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you just don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. I mean, that's awesome. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on that action, especially when you're a Cowboys fan like me and you never know when things are going to go sideways, kind of like today. And if you listen to me on Locked On Dynasty on Friday, you would have known to go over on Bryce Young's passing yards and over on Rico Dowdle's receiving yards. That's right. You would have won some dough. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats like me, FanDuel makes the game day experience just so much better. So what are you waiting for, folks? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Swiper, we're back here on Locked On NFL Game Day, and we're going to go down to Duval, where the Jaguars fans were all jazzed up because they beat the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on national TV, and oh my gosh, the Jaguars are for real. And then they lose to Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, 20-12. For more on this one, let's go to Tony Wiggins on Locked On Jags.
At the wrong time. Even the defense didn't play as well as they could have today. Gave up a couple of big chunk plays on defense. Special teams was bad. Cam Little missed both an extra point as well as a chip shot field goal. And Logan Cook was out punted by Seattle's punter and did not give the Jaguars a chance to really win this game from that perspective. So I'm not going to buy into the whole hangover deal. I just don't believe in that. You play 17 games, you get paid a lot of money to play. the Jaguars just had a poor outing today, and they have to own it and learn to get better because they have to go to London and play the Rams. Tune in to Locked On Jaguars for more.
So watching this game in full, the offense struggled. They gave up 7 sacks to the Seahawks today, and the Seahawks had 33 pressures today as well. They were hounding Trevor Lawrence. But the real story of this game for me is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has continued his MVP level play from last year to this year. 295, 2 TDs, a 10.9 average per throw, and a 71 QBR, a 122 passer rating. And then on top of that, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 8 receptions, 162 yards, and a tub with a long of 61. That has become one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the sport, and that is why the Jaguars lost. They couldn't stop Sam, and they couldn't stop JSN.
Seahawks were smart. They jettisoned Geno Smith, who's throwing tons of turnovers for Las Vegas, and they brought in Sam Darnold. I got to be honest with you, Swipe. I thought Sam Darnold was going to be a dud in Seattle because no matter where he's been outside of Minnesota in their quarterback-friendly offense, he had really not lived up that. He's been great, especially the last few weeks. He's been very good. And you mentioned Jackson Smith, and he is that dude, man. He is that dude. We're talking about a guy who's playing at an elite level for the Seahawks. So they go in and they beat up on a Jaguars team that had really come off a big-time high. Trevor Lawrence did play well in this game, though. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He played well, had a couple of touchdown passes. Brian Thomas Jr. finally looked like Brian Thomas Jr. from last year. So that's a good thing in terms of real and fantasy football. But Seattle comes home with the win. Next up, we're going to go to the land of cheese, where the Bengals, they put up a fight against the Packers. And Joe Flacco, listen, I mean, it was better. They competed. They lost 27-18, but hey, at least Jamar Chase had a good game, right? And T. Higgins was better. So I guess that's something to take away from it. And for more on this game, let's go to Locked On Bengals.
Competitive game. It was a step in the right direction. Joe Flacco playing functional quarterback in a way the Bengals haven't seen for weeks after Joe Burrow's injury. And it does enough to give you just that little tiny bit of hope that, yeah, even though they're 2-4, maybe they can win some games. If Joe Burrow is going to come back this year, Joe Flacco showed against the Green Bay Packers that he can run the offense. He can throw the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And in a league where moral victories are few and far between, and I really don't believe in them, at least it was a step in the right direction for the Cincinnati Bengals. It looked better against the Green Bay Packers, who are a good football team, as Joe Flacco took over.
Look, it's tough because Flacco is a professional, and, you know, he was making professional throws. 219 and 2 TDs, 68 QBR, especially the situation he was in. The first half was horrible. They didn't seem to trust that he understood the playbook. He was throwing a lot of checkdowns, but eventually got into a point in the game where he was just like, I got to turn it loose. So Jamar Chase, all of a sudden, 10 for 94 and a TD, looked crazy. T. Higgins, 5 for 62. He started turning it out, but they just don't have, I don't think, the scheme to really hold up versus these teams. Jordan Love balled 259 and a TD. Now, he had a horrific throw that he was running to his right to go out of bounds. He tried to do a Superman play, try to make a play and throw it back in bounds, but then ended up throwing a pick. He still had an 82.5 QBR. Josh Jacobs, 18 carries for 93 yards and 2 TDs. He continues to ball out for that team. Matthew Golden, by the way, 3 receptions for 86 yards. He's continuing to come along in the NFL to figure out what exactly his role is and how to be a wide receiver one. So you saw signs of life for the Bengals, but really the Packers, they did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business, and now they can move on with another W in the win column.
Yeah, you mentioned Matthew Golden, and I think he's going to just be utilized more on the offense, as you mentioned, moving forward. And Josh Jacobs, he's that dude in fantasy too. A couple of touchdowns, and he continues to be the centerpiece of that offense. But I guess if you're looking at some sort of silver lining, at least the Bengals were competitive in this one, and they hadn't been under Jake Browning. The Buccaneers, you want to talk about a team that's competitive, and more so. Baker Mayfield, I mean, one of my favorite players to watch at home against the Niners. They continue their winning ways on Sunday. San Francisco is just chock full of injuries. Fred Warner was injured in that game, carted off the field. not good for the Niners. For more on this one, let's go to Brian Peacock with Locked on 49ers.
49ers fall in Tampa 30-19, but the scoreboard does not tell the story about how this game impacts the 49ers 2025 season. Hey, everybody, I'm Brian Peacock of Locked on 49ers. Baker Mayfield continuing his hot start to the season. 30-19 win for the Bucs against the San Francisco 49ers, and really unfair to ask Mac Jones to do what he was tasked with, which was win a shootout at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 6. The 49ers not able to do that for numerous reasons. The main reason and the biggest reason the 49ers defense was not able to keep pace with Baker Mayfield and that Bucs offense, despite all the receivers they were down on that side of the football, is losing Fred Warner after losing Nick Bosa earlier this season to a season-ending ACL. Now it is a dislocated ankle for Fred Warner. That's likely what the outcome is. Still waiting for some more imaging there. Warner, so important to the San Francisco 49ers, has been the leader of this football team really since he joined it in 2018. An all-pro talent and really more important to the defense even than his own play with getting everybody lined up and what he means to the franchise. This is a tough one for the 49ers to overcome. And Eric Crocker and I, earlier on in the offseason, made a list. We ranked the most important players for the San Francisco 49ers this season, and the top 3 guys are now all out for the 49ers. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner not coming back. You might get George Kittle back. Those guys all even more important in our opinions than the quarterback and Brock Purdy. We've seen Mac Jones play well. Even more important than Christian McCaffrey, the running back. And it's really too much, I think, for the 49ers to overcome. Certainly was on this Sunday. We'll see how this goes the rest of the year when we get more information on Fred Warner, but probably a lot more than this roster is going to be able to handle as well coached as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the story of an unfortunate events for this team. You know, Fred Warner, best inside linebacker in the league and has been for some time now. It was such a freak play. You know, as you know, it's just a freak roll-up. You know, when you get not looking, not paying attention, you know, it's the middle of a play. Somebody caught him, rolled on his ankle, and you could tell immediately that something bad had happened. So it's just really unfortunate. Fred is a great guy, well respected in the NFL. So obviously hope that he gets healthy as soon as possible. But look, Baker Mayfield balled. You know, the 49ers, they did their best despite the circumstances. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Mac Jones did his best despite the fact that he's down people on the outside, down the best tight end in football, I would argue, in George Kittle. But Baker Mayfield, 256, 2 TDs, 81 QBR. He continues to ball out, yo. He 17 of 23 for Baker Mayfield is just a monster right now. So just an amazing game, man. Like the Tampa Bay Bucs continue to prove they might be the best team in the NFC this year.
I'll tell you one thing, though. I don't know how much longer they can continue losing wide receivers, though, because Emeka Egbuka went out of this game, did not return. He got hurt. You're already down Mike Evans. You're already down Chris Godwin. So the Buccaneers, they need to get healthier at the wide receiver position, or their winning ways could be, well, let's just say short-lived. Now, if you missed any of the rest of the week in action, the Steelers beat the Browns 23-9. Aaron Rodgers with a couple of touchdown passes in that game. And the Raiders beat the hapless Titans 20-10. Geno had another turnover, but Ashton Genty rushed for 75 yards in the score in Las Vegas's win. Swipa, anything to add here before we wrap up, pal?
Man, it should be a great bout of Sunday Night Football. You'll have more tomorrow from Locked On NFL. And y'all, those Monday night, that game, the Buffalo Bills, I can't wait to see how Josh Allen responds.
That's going to be fun. And those throwback uniforms are going to be glorious. I can't wait. Thank you all for making Locked On NFL Game Night your first listen of the day. For your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler, the Madman Roland, gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day. And Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.